أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب القبر وقنا عذاب الحشر. Inshallah, today we will be doing ayat number 178 alBaqarah onwards. And we see that in contrast to the Makki Surah, in the Madani Surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives commands which are more relatable to the day-to-day life. In the previous lesson, we studied the different kinds of deeds that can lead us to righteousness, to become more pious person, and to not get stuck at particular new appearing things, to have strong faith inside, and to be able to do all kinds of good deeds. In today's lesson, we will be studying about Qisaas. Qisaas root is Qaf, Sad, which you see that the word Qissa also comes from that, which means story. So something that follows up. Qisaas is an Islamic term which means retribution, basically retaliation of the kind, sort of an meaning that if a Muslim is injured or killed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala officially allows the victim's family to take the exact same revenge. And that is made a law, so it does not create chaos. There are many conditions and many options for that. Conditions being that the person who is doing it is sane and he knows what is done, and the victim's family will have the three options. They can kill the person in the case of murder, or injure in the case of injury, in case of losing a limb or any kind of injury, to do something almost exactly the same to the offender. And the other options are to take the blood money, and the third option is to forgive completely. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this a law, so people have a way to deal with this kind of issue in a peaceful manner. You know from history, not just the Arabic history, not just the people of Arabia, but everywhere, when there is bloodshed, then the tribes would keep fighting for hundreds and hundreds of years, and they would never talk. And the generations who would come later on, they would not even know where the fight started from, but they would be severe enemies of each other. So in this ayat, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us guidance to understand how to go about it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will mention all the terms, and He will mention how this is a lifesaver, this Allah. So let's get into ayat number 178. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli rabbana zidna ilma Allahumma fakihna fid din. Ya ayyuhal lazina amanu, ya o ayyuhal lazina, those who amanu, those who believe. Kutiba, kaf ba is the root which means prescribed or written for you. Alaykum, upon you, made of two words, ala and kum. Al-Qisaas, Qaf, Sad is the root, which means a legal retribution. Fil qatla, in the matter of the murder. In qatla, in the qatl. And from the hadith we know it is also in the matter of an injury. Al-Hurru bil-Hurri, the free man for the free man. So if a free man kills somebody, then that person will be killed. Basically, the offender will be the one who would be murdered, not their servants, or what we see in the movies and dramas. And if there's a feudal lord, his sons will do the murder, and then one of the servants will have to sacrifice their life for that. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions if a free man did it, then he will be killed. Wal abdu bil abdi, if the slave did it, then the slave should be murdered. Wal untha bil untha, if the woman did it, if the female did it, then the female should be murdered or should be punished. Fa, then, man, whoever. Ufiya, afu, from afu, which means to pardon or to forgive. Lahu, for it. min akhihi, from his brother. Akhi, and he means his brother. So if in case, for example, the victim's family, they are okay to let it go for whatever reason, like if there is any situation where the family is willing to forgive, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives it so much high regard that Allah is saying that if whoever is pardoned for it from his brother, shay'in, in anything, fattiba'un, then follows up bil ma'rufi. Fattiba, the root is taba'ain, which means to follow. Bil ma'rufi, in a ma'ruf way, in a suitable way, in an established way. Wa, and ada'un, and does the payment. So basically, if a payment is decided, then none of the party breaks the deal. If the payment is decided in front of a judge, then the party does not, one party does not say, oh, I already paid, and or the other party, if they say that, okay, we'll need, this is such a huge amount, we'll need 1 year to at least pay, then they don't give them a hard time, to the victim's family, that, oh, we don't have the money yet and stuff. So this is like a deal, a promise, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, reminds us to do it in a maruf way, in a proper way, not to. On the other hand, the victim's family also, after accepting the money and choosing the option of taking the blood money, and after that going after the offender's family and saying that, okay, we cannot get over our father's blood, we're still bloodthirsty, we are going to take the revenge, the money did not do it. So if you decide on the deal, then you should regard, you should have in mind that this is what you have chosen in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of the choices that Allah has given you. You did have the choice to take the life officially, and also other examples where maruf might not be implemented is where they would kill one person, the victim's family will say, no, we don't want to take the money, we want to kill the offender, and then they murder him, and officially with the permission of the judge and the permission of the court, the Islamic court. And then the offender's family, they get more upset, they want to do more harm to the other family, and this goes on. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that the money that should be chosen should be maruf. It should not be so much that the amount should not be an impossible amount. So let's go over this. So fattiba'un, so follow up. Bil ma'arufi, with suitable. Wa ada'un, hamza dalia, with and payment. Ilayhi, to him. Bi ihsan, with kindness. So the payment should be done with kindness, payment should be received with kindness. All these things, once you do enter the deal, you have to understand that this is it. You have to follow, abide by the rules of this term. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this law, and this is a law that the Muslims have to follow, and that all three options, you are allowed to take the options, but not beyond that. Zalika, this is takhfifu, khafafa, meaning a concession, it is lessened. Okay, mir rabbikum, from your Rabb. Wa, and rahmatun, and the mercy, raham, rahamim. First, so mani'tada, whoever i'tada, transgresses, basically, and dalwaw, which means whoever goes beyond that. Ba'da, after zalika, that, falahu, so then for him, azabun alim, then there is azab alim, hamza lam mim, which is painful. So anyone who breaks any of the terms of this law, Allah has given you the law, Allah has given you the conditions, Allah has shown you exactly what to do. From this ayat and from the hadith, we know what are the conditions of Qisaas, what are the different options in Qisaas, and once you select the option, you should stick to that. If you do not, this is for both the parties, then there is going to be azab for you, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you the right way to do things. If you do not follow it, it's just like, you should not think that I am a good Muslim, but this, I cannot stop getting upset, angry with the other tribe, I have to kill more people. I can't let them live in, they killed my father. I cannot do that. And unfortunately, we don't see Sharia being implemented like this in our world these days. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the law for us. Wa and la for kum you fil qisasi, in the qisas, in the legal retribution, in this law, hayatun is life. Hayaya. How is their life? Because if you follow it properly and completely, you will not go into this chain of killing one after the other. Both tribes will not stay busy for the next few years just killing each other. Ya ulil albab, O people of the albab, understanding, O people who think. La, so allakum, for you, that you may tattaqun, so you may become pious. So you can be more productive. You can do more things that you need to do as a Muslim instead of staying in the fear, staying, always ready, staying prepared for the attack from the other tribe. What would you be doing? You will just be either crying for the losses that you will have, or you will be getting ready, sending more people, family members will be scared, how many will come back and how many will not. So you'll be busy with a fight which is not linking you to the akhirah. So if you want to stay a life of taqwa, you should just follow with this law properly and get it done with it. I mean, there is loss involved, and there might be loss involved at both sides, but this is it. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told you where to stop. Right? And if you don't, then you will not be able to do other things that will lead you to taqwa and to Jannah. In the upcoming ayats 180, 181 and 182, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the will, because there's the topic of death, and also there's as I had already mentioned, there's going to be a list of commands where people have to do different kinds of practices according to our deen. So 180 to 182 talks about will. This ayat was later abrogated because will is, and in the Wassiyah, the term used over here is Wassiyah. Initially, this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had told people that it is prescribed for you to, that when the death approaches, you should, whatever property or valuable things that you are leaving behind, you should give it in a fair manner to parents and relatives and all. And later on, why it was abrogated is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave exact fractions, exact percentages of what should be given to each relative, parent, sister, whoever needs to be given, depending on what the family structure is for the dying person. And will stayed only the 1/3 person. So there is inheritance which the person does not have any authority to decide. Allah has decided for everyone. And if the person leaves a will, then it is only 1/3 of the complete valuables that he leaves, 1/3 of the complete property that he has the authority. Even from that 1/3, he should not leave that to one of the inheritors. He can only leave that will to somebody who is not part of that equation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already given for inheritance. So I will repeat that this ayat was related to general will, the advice from the dying person related to his property and valuables to be divided between his family and relatives. But later on it was abrogated because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala later on gave each heir the fixed exact share depending on what family. Everyone has different family, different number of siblings, and whether the parents are alive or not, whether they have children, wife, all those things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that when the ayat about inheritance, the exact share ayat came, then this became abrogated, and then this is taken that if he leaves wealth, that then he has the authority over 1/3 of his wealth, which he can decide for somebody who's not part of the inheritance equation. It could be an orphanage, it could be for sadaqah, it could be for an adopted son, or anyone else that he has any, maybe a teacher, maybe some school, anywhere that he wants to. So 1/3. For now we will study the translation of this ayat, which means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed upon any person that when the death approaches, then those of you who leave the property shall give it in a fair manner to parents and relatives. Let's go into the translation. kutiba, prescribed or written alaykum, upon you, iza, when, hadara, approaches, ahada, one, kum, of you, any one of you. So when the death approaches any one of you, al-mautu, the death, in, if, taraka, if he leaves, taraka means leave, khairan, khair in the context of money, or depending on whatever the topic is. In this case, it is money, valuables, property. Al-wasiyata, making the will. So it is prescribed for a dying person, a Muslim who is dying, that he leave a will. He give instructions about the distribution of his property. Lil walidaina, for the walidain, for the parents. Wal aqrabin, for the relatives. Qaf raba is the root. Bil maruf, in a maruf way. You should now be able to understand the word maruf, as something that is fair, that is established, that is understood, okay, by everyone, because maruf cannot be an exact number or amount or anything. It means in a nice, suitable, fair way. Haqqan, this is the haqq, this is a duty, ala, upon, al-muttaqeen, those who are muttaqeen, those who are pious, those who want to do the right thing, those who are looking to be on the right path. So in 181 and 182 will be related to this, that if a person is giving the will and the person who is sitting there listening makes changes, so in which case he is allowed to make changes, and when he is not allowed to make changes. So generally you're not allowed to make changes to the person's will, because if shaitan whispers that, okay, nobody else has heard this, then make it to your own benefit. And in the case that the dying person has made a mistake, then you are allowed to sit down with and take advice from others and correct it. Anyways, let's study 181 and 182 for months. Then one, whoever, baddalahu, bada Allah, meaning change it, the will, bada, after, ma, what, sami'a, who, you've heard, seen, mim, ain, who, it, after hearing the will. So innama, only, indeed, ithmuhu, that is a sin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that don't think that nobody has heard it. It's a grave sin. Ala, upon, allazina, those who, yubaddilunahu, those who all changed it, bada lam. Inna Allah, indeed Allah, Sami'un Alim. Sami', he's all listener, he's all hearing. Alim, he's all knowing. So Allah knows what he said, Allah knows what he changed it into. Allah was listening, Allah was hearing everything. He knows what happened. Faman, ayat number 182. So whoever, khafa, fear. So in this is the ayat where it allows us to change if the dying person made a mistake, or if they intentionally even did a wrong will. So you're allowed to change it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive the dying person. Maybe if your father, if your mother, somebody did something unfair to one of the siblings, or something like that. So faman, but whoever, khafa, fears, min, from, musin. Musin is the person who did the wasiyah, who gave the will. Janafan, jim, noun, fa means error, that maybe a mistake has happened from him. Aw, or ithman. Ithm means sin, so or maybe he did it intentionally. Fa, so aslaha, swad lam ha, mean to reconcile, to correct, to make the correction. Bainahum, between them. Fala, so no, ithma, sin, alayhi, upon him. Basically in the previous ayat 181, Allah said that is a sin if you change it. Over here Allah says fala isma alayhi, there is no sin if you change it. Inna Allah, indeed Allah, ghafurur rahim. So in fact Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used very beautiful names over here, that Allah is Ghafurur Rahim upon you as well. Allah is forgiving and Allah will be merciful, that you try to do something right, that you did not just say, okay, that's not my problem, it's their family's problem. No, if you know something that is correct, you try to help the people and make it right. So the deceased, maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be forgiving towards him, and maybe if you are doing the right thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive your sins and be more merciful on you at your dying time, that you don't make any wrong decisions. So over here we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the etiquette that if a person hears something, if we listen something from somebody, it seems important, we should give it complete due importance. We should make it our responsibility to deliver the message to whoever is the responsible party. It is not our duty to decide that if because that person gave me importance, so I'm able to steer the things in my benefit. You cannot do that. Keep in mind, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Sami'un Alim. You're never supposed to think that, okay, nobody heard this, so I can make the decision. And whenever there is a situation that somebody is making a wrong decision, you know that your advice might help. Then feel free, do not fear, do not let the other people die in sin. Or if that person did even die, don't let their children stay in sin and in fights and all those things. Be a well-wisher to people. Try to do things in a right way, in a right manner. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not just be Ghafurur Rahim to them, but you should assume good, that inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of your good deed towards somebody else, towards correcting somebody else's wrong will, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect you and your offsprings from any wrong decisions, any wrong situations. In the end, I would like us all to appreciate how beautiful these commands are, how perfect our religion is, how grateful we should be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us details about dealing in such scenarios. He did not just leave us with the rituals that, okay, pray salah and do this and that. Allah could have just said, okay, don't kill anyone. Allah also gave us the exact scenarios and what to do in these situations. If you think about Qisaas, think about a world where Allah would not have given us this command. It's another thing completely that the Sharia is not followed. It's something different, right? But the idea of punishment, the idea of a satisfaction of being fair is given to us. It is a very just religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves justice, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commands reflect that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants peace for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala understands people have feelings, and then things should be done in a fair manner. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have just given us, that's the third option in Qisaas, that just forgive people, be kind to them, and we would have to follow that. But Allah gave us all three options, that you can, this eye for an eye, right? So Qisaas, and then diyat, which is blood money. You can take blood money, and there could be many situations where people, if the father was already very old, or if even if it was not old, if the situation requires that instead of killing somebody, now that the loss is happened, right? So maybe the victim's family wants to think in a different manner, that the kids are small, or the situation requires that instead of killing somebody, maybe the money at this point would be more valuable. So imagine that Allah had not given us the option of blood money. People would think that this family is so greedy. Their brother died and they are taking money instead of that. This was done to them, and all they care about is money. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it official that these are the options, and in the third case, the forgiving. So, and then that is, of course, given more honor, the person who forgives. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not take the right away from us because everyone thinks in a different manner. Every family is different, every situation is different, why something is happening is different. And it is so beautiful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also told us in the ayat after that, 179, that there is life in that. If you think, if you use your brain, this actually makes things simpler. That way you can focus more on things that are more important. The priorities in life should be to go back towards taqwa. That is what the theme is of our religion, that don't busy yourself with the things in life. And it's not petty enough that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, okay, if something like this happens, just forgive and let go. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving it importance, is telling us that yes, this is an important issue, let me tell you how to deal with this, so you don't have to waste your life, waste your time, waste your energies, waste your money, everything on these kinds of petty things right now. You can keep focusing on following the religion properly so you can enter into my Jannah. And then after that, Wasiyat, even though this is abrogated, that is also, we should be very thankful. Why? Because what if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had never sent the ayat about inheritance of the Taraka ayat, and he would have left us with this ayat that divide this, your properties and valuables, in a maruf manner. Of course, the usage of the word maruf tells us that we have to be fair, but so that the people who are the relatives, the wife, the children, the siblings, the parents do not have bad feelings about the deceased. This is such a beautiful way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala solved the problem for each and every Muslim, that I will decide for you, I will decide exact share, so nobody has any hard feelings. And on top of that, the 1/3 that Allah has given the authority, that is also not allowed to be given to any of the heirs. Why? Because of course, if it would be allowed, if it would be left completely open, that okay, you can give the 1/3, 33% to whoever you want from every 100, you can give 33 to whoever you want, then again that would be, there would be chance of the unfairness, there would be chance of hard feelings, there would be chance of, because humans cannot be as just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. That is why Allah gave us the exact shares for each one and still kept this ayat. I have a feeling that this ayat, even after abrogation, the recitation is over there. So we understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even would, if he would have left us with this term that you should do it with maruf, we would not have been able to do justice with this ayat. Even if in our own perception we would be doing justice, the people would never be happy. None of them would be happy how we decide, and most of us would not even get a chance before dying to do that, and there people will be left fighting. So Allah does not want us to spend our life and our time on fighting about money, on fighting about these murders, fights. Allah wants us to just focus on getting Jannah, to focus on taqwa. And this is a theme, this ties a knot with the different ways of birr that we studied in the last class, inshallah.